Hi everyone and welcome, and forgive the sunglasses. I'm not trying to be a rock star. It's actually very, very hot and extremely bright here today, and I thought I'd put them on rather than squinting at the camera like I often do in the bright light of Lanzarote. Welcome to this week's news, and remember to stay tuned until the end of it when I'll give you three things you could be doing next week if you were on the island. And I've had a lot of feedback from people to say that feature is very popular, so we'll be leaving it in going forward. Now on with the news, and first up, I've got some good news about Arrecife, the capital of Lanzarote, and the Ayuntamiento there have decided they want to start promoting Arrecife as a wedding venue, and I think it's a great idea. They've picked some of the iconic places in the city to allow them to be offered as wedding venues. So, for example, the music kiosk, the kiosco right on the seafront in the town, that beautiful old wooden building, is going to be one place. Another is going to be El Islote de la Fermina, which is the lovely Manrique designed pool just slightly offshore behind the Arrecife Grand Hotel, and also Charco San Ginés, and there was somewhere else mentioned, I can't remember where it was, but I think it's a great idea, and I think it will do well. Certainly at the moment, Puerto del Carmen, Playa Blanca, attract a lot of weddings, and I think Arrecife could attract more still because it's quite an iconic place to get married. Now, next up, the Cabildos of Lanzarote, Fuerteventura and Gran Canaria have all asked the Canarian government for a moratorium on the issuing of new letting licenses. Now, I need to position this for you, particularly for those of you who may not know what's been going on here over the last year or so in terms of letting licenses for properties. And what we're talking about here is licenses called viviendas vacacional, and these are letting licenses for private individuals to be able to let their properties. So if, for example, John owns an apartment in Puerto del Carmen and he rents it out to tourists, he needs one of these vivienda vacacional licenses, or a VV. Now, the Canarian government published, must have been 4 or 5 months ago, that they were coming up with a new law to better monitor these, control them, and to set some standards for these VV license holders. And I mean, anyone with half a brain, and I include myself in that list, could see immediately what would happen once they announced that one of the provisions of the new law, which is due to come into effect in October or November of this year, one of the provisions was going to be a moratorium stopping people applying for licenses, new licenses, for a period of 5 years, and offering a protection to those who already have them for the same 5-year period, so they can carry on as normal. And as I say, it was obvious to anyone with half a brain that from that point on, anyone who thinks they might be letting their property out over the next few years are going to apply for a license, and that's exactly what's happened. A total of 5,000 new licenses have been applied for across those islands, several hundred, well in fact thousands here on Lanzarote alone. And the thinking is that a lot of the people are doing it just in case. So just in case at some point I want to rent my property out in the future, I will get one of these licenses. Inevitably, it's causing a huge backlog of paperwork and bureaucracy and everything else that goes with these kind of things. So the Cabildos of the three islands have now asked the Canary Islands government to impose a moratorium starting immediately, preventing the issuing of new VVs until the new law is enacted. The Canarian government haven't responded yet, so I don't know whether they're going to say yes or just ignore it. In my view, it's too late. They should have done this months ago, and they're really paying the price for their own lack of clear thinking at the time. Now, you probably walked past it and not really known what it was, but in Puerto del Carmen, just by the little church there is a socio-cultural centre, and it's really it's kind of like a town hall. It's a building owned by the Ayuntamiento of Tias, and when there are political meetings, they take place there. You can rent it for a relatively low fee to hold your own meetings or gatherings or get-togethers. So think of it like, I don't know, village hall or a town hall. The good news is, and I particularly think this is good news because the tapas bar that used to be round the corner from it, where all the taxi drivers had their breaks, has been closed since before COVID and doesn't look like it's ever going to open again. The socio-cultural centre is now going to have a cafeteria in it, and it's going to be serving locally sourced and locally prepared food. So they'll be doing fish dishes, meat dishes, dishes with garbanzos, and I can't think of the English word for them, chickpeas, and all the kind of stuff and lentils that we grow on the island. And it will be open every day from, I'm just going to check the time, yep, from 8 o'clock in the morning until 3 in the afternoon. So it's not a Sociedad, but it's kind of going to have that Sociedad feel to it. And it might be a great place to pop in for a bit of tapas and a quick beer or a cup of coffee next time you're in Puerto del Carmen. And I know I'll be going to check it out, and we'll do a write-up for the website on it. Now, tourist visitors to the island are up 14.3% on the same period last year, and this is for the period January to the end of July. So 14.3%, that's about 300,000 extra people came to Lanzarote in the first 7 months of this year versus last year. It proves that the anti-over-tourism protests haven't really had an effect. And despite the fact that some red top papers in the United Kingdom are saying that Spanish islands are struggling because people aren't going there, that's simply not true, certainly not of this island. And the numbers are just growing and growing and growing. Obviously, it's good for the economy of the island to have those kind of increases, but it really isn't sustainable going forwards, and hopefully that relatively big increase in numbers will settle down a bit over the next year. I think we're just about at a number of tourists we can manage at the moment. And when you look at the split of those 2.1 million people who came here in the first 7 months of the year, around 1 million of them came from the UK, 200,000 from Ireland and 200,000 from Germany, and about 160,000 from mainland Spain, from the peninsula, as everyone knows it here. Great news for those of you who hire a car and drive when you're on the island. Petrol prices have gone down really quite dramatically here. The average price of gasoline, which is petrol, is now $1.19 per litre, and the average price of diesel, which is gas oil, is now $1.18 per litre. But there are places on the island, there's Plen Oil, for example, in Arrecife, where they're charging 1.08 per litre for gasoline, and 1.07 for gas oil diesel. Sorry about the confusion on the names there. Gasoline is petrol and gas oil is diesel. Gasoline comes in the green pumps and gas oil comes in the black pumps. Now, just backtracking to tourism for a moment, we also had a record number of cruise ship visitors to the island in the first 7 months of this year, around 300,000, which is about 15.4% up on the same period as last year. And we're just coming into what is traditionally the busiest cruise season cruise time in the Canary Islands, and that, of course, is the winter. And on the 7th of September, which was yesterday, the first ship of the winter cruise season arrived in Arrecife, and that was P&O's Britannia, carrying around 4,000 passengers and about 1,200 crew. Now, I've got 3 things just to remind you of at this point. The first is, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to our channel by clicking the subscribe button. You may also want to hit the notification bell, which means that you'll get a notification every time we post a new video. And the third thing is that if you have any questions or comments on what we're doing, please leave a comment for us below. We're delighted to hear from you, and we'll always do our best to answer your questions about the island, whether they're related to this particular video or not. Thank you. Now, Lidl are opening a new store in Costa Teguise, it's been confirmed. It's in the entrance of town. If you can imagine the main road coming in from Arrecife or from the Circunvalación, the ring road, the first place you come to is the big Eurospa on your left, and I know that the camera reverses everything, so anyway. On your left, I guess, there is a Eurospar supermarket and a bit of a shopping centre there. Well, there's a plot of land just at the side of that, and Lidl will be built on that plot of land and will be opening in late 25 or early 2026. And there's going to be a bit of a commercial centre along with that as well. It's rumoured, and this isn't confirmed yet, that there will be a Ipertino supermarket there and lots of other shops as well. So, I mean, the good news is for those in Costa Teguise, you won't need to drive the other 4 or 5 kilometres down the road to the one in Arrecife. There'll be one in the resort itself. And while we're talking about Costa Teguise, I was interested to see that the town hall have painted new wording on the pedestrian crossings. The pedestrian crossings in Costa Teguise are a bit of a nightmare. As a driver, I've often had people just sort of step out in front of me. So I drive down there very, very alert. There are loads and loads of them every few metres, and people aren't very good at checking before they cross the road. So these new signs say, stop, look both ways, and don't start crossing until the cars have stopped. Now, I've got a couple of criticisms of this. I mean, the first is that they are in Spanish only. Yes, they have, a symbol that shows a hand and a symbol that shows an eye, so people can work it out. But I'd much rather see it brighter than that, and in multiple languages, or at least in English as well. But the other issue, I think, with the crossings in both Costa Teguise and Puerto del Carmen is that cars are allowed to park right up to the beginning of the crossing. Now, if it's a Fiat 500, that isn't too much of an issue. But if it's a big delivery truck or a 9-seater van or something, it's so easy for people to peer around the corner and step out while traffic's coming towards them. So they really do, as a driver, they really do block the view of potential people crossing the road. And I think they need to create a gap between the crossings and where cars can park. And that's all for the news this week. I hope you enjoyed that. But as promised, I'm now going to tell you about 3 things that you could do if you're on the island next week. Now, the first thing I would do if you're here is go along and visit the craft fair in Mancha Blanca. And that runs from the 10th until the 15th of September. Now, Mancha Blanca is a beautiful village, and when you're there, go and visit the church and see where the lava flow from the Timan fire eruption stopped right on the edge of the town, because that's all been preserved. But also go along to the craft fair. There are over 120 exhibitors there from all over the Canary Islands, and they are both showing how they make their products and also selling them. So you'll see leather workers, silver workers, people making cigars, people making baskets from palm leaves, lots and lots of really interesting stuff. So that is an absolute must next week, and we're certainly going along as well. Next up on the 13th, how about going to a place I mentioned earlier in this video when I was talking about weddings, and it's El Islote de la Fermina in Arrecife, and it's the little island you access by a walkway that starts behind the Arrecife Grand Hotel. And throughout the summer, they're having DJ sets there. There's music from 8 until 11 on the night of Saturday the 13th, and it's a top-class DJ. It's a great act. The lighting is absolutely fantastic there, and you have the opportunity to buy some food and obviously drinks as well. So that's a proper chill-out summer night vibe going on at the beautiful little island off the coast of Arrecife. And the other thing you could do is follow that up with a bit more music on the Sunday and go and enjoy the sunset groove at Lago Mar. Lago Mar is the beautiful sort of cave house complex that was allegedly owned by Omar Sharif, hence the name at one time. It was built by a British guy called Sam Benedi. They have a sunset groove there every Sunday. And the museum is open from 12 until 6, and the Bar La Cueva, which is a really cool little bar, is open on Sundays from 6 until 11. And that Sunset Groove goes on all day with DJs spinning discs there. So that would be the third thing that I would do next week and that I would suggest and recommend you do. Thanks so much once again for watching these videos. We really do appreciate every single one of you taking the time to do so. And all that remains is to say we'll be here same time next week. Look out for the videos we put out from time to time during the week as well. We put one out this week all about driving on the island, and next week we have one just explaining what the new EES entry system means. So make sure you stay tuned to our channel for updates on all those things. Thanks for watching again, and bye for now.